So let us begin by doing our first phase of our coherence building technique. Please place your awareness in the area of the heart and take slow, deep breaths. And visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Slow, deep, gentle breaths. The deeper you take the breaths, the better. But make sure it's comfortable and it's not labored. Slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little gentler, a little slower, a little deeper than you normally would. Just feel your body slow down. Beautiful. Continue to maintain that awareness in the area of your heart as you take these slow, gentle breaths. Beautiful. When you take these deep breaths, and as you draw them in, visualizing them flowing into your heart, visualize a little further. Visualize it flowing into every cell in your body from the top of your head to the bottom of your foot. In essence, when you are actually taking these slow, deep breaths, every breath that you take injects fresh oxygen into your blood circulation. And there's not a part in your body that the blood does not circulate to. So you have 100 trillion cells. And as you take these slow, deep breaths and you visualize them flowing through your heart, you are actually creating a new fresh supply of oxygen for your system. So when you take these slow, deep breaths, you're ensuring that all the oxygen that your body needs reaches to where it needs the most. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that wonderful practice. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for joining us from Mount Shasta. Will and Lou from Regina, of course, and Wendy from Alaska. Thank you, Wendy, for passing on my message to Peggy. I appreciate that. I trust you had a wonderful session with her. Walter, great meeting from Zurich. Amelia, oh, thank you for your wishes of happy birthday. Today happens to be my birthday. So thank you so much. Big hugs right back to you, and good morning from Spruce Grove, Diane. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So let us move on to the I didn't know that moment. And today is a very a special topic that I picked. And it's about honoring courage. And we all know what has happened in the recent media splash. There were these women who came forward because of a man who, for many decades, was sexually harassing them. And it took them a few decades, but these women came forward. Now, women have been coming forward from a long time. They've been coming forward even as early as the time of the recent United States presidential election. Before the president was inaugurated, women were coming forward about some of these things that were happening to them. And the world was warming up at that time to the notion that these are not appropriate. But the world was not ready to say enough is enough. And so it took decades of women who had to start from this women's lib movement back in the 60s and 70s to now, when actually the scales have tipped to the favor of humanity, when all these women came forward. And it took the first courageous woman to come forward back in the 60s or 50s or 40s that we know of, right to this point, that the momentum actually built to a point where it tipped over. And now what is happening is something nothing short of miracle. Is you have men who are stepping up, and some of these men are very famous. We have Quentin Tarantino, who actually stepped forward and said, I knew Harvey Weinstein. I knew of his activities and actions. As a matter of fact, Quentin Tarantino even admitted that Harvey made a pass at Quentin's girlfriend, and he did nothing about it. And today, after seeing a huge influx of women standing up for themselves and saying enough is enough, and everybody realizing how vast this issue is, it wasn't an isolated incident. So it took the first woman who spoke up, and she knew whoever that was, and we probably don't even know who that first woman is. We know the women that were showcased in the media, but behind all of that, there is this courage of women and men who spoke up and were persecuted for that. And to that we honor the women and men that we don't know about, that have actually stepped forward, that has caused a ripple and a momentum that allowed the women that are now coming forward, allowed that whole tide to turn. And this is the actual honoring that we want to do. We want to honor the courage. And we want to say to you, if you look at this particular person's post in front of you, if you've got access to this slideshow, he basically is saying we're going to use the How I Will Change hashtag. They said that they would start calling out predatory behavior, teach their children to honor and respect women, and to listen more. And this is a very powerful change on the side of the actual the species, or the actual species that have been the more aggressive in terms of sexual abuse is the men who have done this mostly to the women. And so now what we're talking about is there are men who are speaking up and saying, we will not allow the next generation to actually have to endure this. We are going to speak up, and we're going to speak out against predatory behavior. This is a shift in direction, and I want to honor, and I think we should all, in the next phase of our Monday morning espresso shot, when we actually do the next breathing technique, that we will keep in mind the honor and the courage that these individuals had. We honor everyone, right up to the first person that stood up for their rights. And we are also going to honor those that will do this in the future for a situation that is yet to evolve. And we will give our heart to those who speak up for the rights of humanity. Thank you so much. And I see some comments coming through. Um, Wendy saying about EMF balancing, thank you. Will and Lou, divine feminine energy arises to rebalance harmony from the masculine power. Yes, there's a certain balancing that's happening. Joyce is saying sexual abuse is also present with men abusing men. Absolutely true. And women abusing men as well. All right. So we give courage to all those. We honor those who have stepped up, stepped forward, and showed courage. Antonio Jose, thank you for the birthday wishes. All right. Let us now go into the quick coherence technique. And our focus right now is to honor courage. Courage from people, the individual that stands up and first starts a chain reaction. It may take decades or it may take a moment, but we honor that courage. So let us begin by placing our awareness in the area of the heart. Take slow, deep breaths. Visualize these breaths flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. Just drawing them into your heart as deep as you can. Exhale them from their heart. And now I want you to tap into that courage energy of yours. Every human being is born with courage. So I want you to tap into your inner courage right now. If you look at a toddler's natural instinct is to stand up and start walking and running and climbing. It doesn't matter how much a parent will dissuade them from doing that because we're afraid they're going to get hurt. A toddler will not relent. Child will continue to strive to do something that no human being, no adult human being would consider doing, is to go from crawling to walking. That change is a natural instinct that we were all born with. Today as adults, when we try and look at a different change, when we have a change happening in our lives, we completely freak out. We are scared. A toddler or a child is not. There is a courage. You are born with that courage. I want you to summon that. I want you to bring it forward. You have it in you. Every one of us is born with that. We have just not used it too much, some of us. So draw deep within you that courage and summon it, bring it up. Now feel it. As you take these slow, deep breaths, visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. I want you to bring forward that courage that you have, that's innate in every human being. We are born with it. So activate it if it's not already active. Amplify it if it's not already amplified. And now I want you to anchor that courage, that energy of courage in your body. And remember, the humanity is behind you when you stand up for others, when you stand up for yourself. Draw your boundaries and respectfully push back. Don't be afraid of the consequences when it's coming from your heart. You are meant to show and display your courage. Remember that every time you speak up, there are 1,000 people who are afraid to do so, and you are speaking on their behalf. Honor yourself. Honor the innate courage you are born with. As you take these slow, deep breaths and visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Wonderful. Thank you so much for participating today. Our 15 minutes are up, but if you want to stick around for some Q&A, I'm happy to entertain that. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. By all means, please provide your Q&A and type them in. Happy to help you out. I do wanted to mention to you that got a few programs that I will be launching in the new year, and I'll be changing my website pretty quickly here. There will be a weekend coming up in a weekend or two where you will not be able to send me any emails, and because as I'm switching over to a new website provider, that and I'll let you know when that is, so that if you're not able to access me for 48 hours, it's because my maintenance and transition is happening then. All right. So if there are no questions, I will sign off here. If there are questions, please do type them in, and we'll go from there. All right. Lane, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate that. I've been inundated and overwhelmed with the birthday wishes that are coming in, so I so much appreciate your acknowledgement. Thank you, Carol from Jacksonville. Thank you. Happy birthday wishes from her. Joyce, I have a question about the breath of coherence. There's another breath I love to do, which is sending energy into the earth and up to the galaxy. Does this integrate with our coherent breathing? Well, absolutely, yes, it does. As you know, that when we take these slow, deep breaths, whether we take the slow, deep breaths or we're actually taking breaths that are full of anxiety, we are projecting a magnetic field. Our body projects a magnetic field for up to 3 to 8 feet. At least that's what's measured. And scientists who've measured that readily admit that that could go beyond that, because they just don't have the instruments to measure the effect. They've seen the impact of focused intention on the magnetic field of the grid of Earth. So yes, when we do actually build that magnetic field around, it's almost like you're turning the engine on and you're revving. And then when you actually visualize this, going up to the sky, or to the heavens, and then anchoring down to Earth, you are actually now making this a more powerful anchoring. You're anchoring the sky to the earth, and that's ancient wisdom. If you look at the native cultures, the Peruvian cultures, for example, will honor the 6 directions. East, south, west, north, and then the sky and Mother Earth. So yes, these are all ancient traditions. Science is now beginning to know that there's an actual evidence that you can actually do that. So yes, by showing your intention, you're connecting the sky to the earth, and that is actually, when you set up that coherent field, when you set up that field going up and down, when you have that feeling of appreciation, compassion, courage, there's an actual magnetic signature, and that's been actually measured. It's been measured. There's an actual spectral graph that can show the frequencies of compassion and courage are very ordered, very, very coherent, and those of anxiety and frustration are chaotic. So when you're actually aligning yourself with the sky and the earth, when you have that feeling of field of compassion, you are actually more powerful. Your conduit is that much more powerful. So thank you, Joyce, for that question. And yes, I would say absolutely, it is very integrated and all part and parcel of one thing. When you build a field of coherence, remember, everything that you do externally to affect the external environment begins from within. And the coherence building practice that we do starts from within. So you're igniting from inside out. All right. Thank you, Joyce, for your wishes. Yes, Wendy, I will be on Facebook during that time. It's just my panther-power.com email may not be working, but I'll send you guys a note on that. Thank you, Joyce, for your wishes. Will and Lou, I'm glad you do the same. That's a very good practice to anchor the heavens and the earth, because it just gives you that much more powerful conduit from which to kind of engage life. Thank you, Will and Lou, Bridges of Light. Thank you, Walter, for your happy birthday. Joyce, there are 2 Stargate experiences coming, one at Thanksgiving and one for New Year's. Will I be there? I'm not sure I will be there. Maybe next year. I do want to take those on for sure. Those are some of the two areas that I do want to take on. I will be checking those out, but I don't know if I can do it this year, but I will definitely have to do it at some point next year. All right. I don't see, oh, there's more questions. Carol, the International Space Station registered a huge change in the electromagnetic spectrum of the entire Earth right after 9/11, when the entire planet was in coherence of compassionate hearts. Every individual plays a part. We all count. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Carol. There was if that's the case, I didn't hear about the International Space Station, and that is very possible. What I did hear, and what you see a lot on the website, is the actual orbiting satellites that were weather satellites that measured a huge spike in the Earth's magnetic field, and there was no solar activity going on, which is the only thing that can explain a huge magnetic field spike. The only thing that could explain is everyone was feeling the same emotion, and that emotion registered on the Earth's magnetic field, which spiked up. So yes, there is definite science behind when we do focused intention. We really spike the Earth's magnetic field, which is a tell of how humanity can shift an entire, individuals can shift an entire human grid, which is beautiful to know. Joel, I used the heart math breathing in an open circle of men and had an amazing experience. That's awesome, Joel. I know, Joel, you're part of the Mankind Project, and we have to connect over that. I just haven't had the time to respond to your email, but I will be very soon. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, I see no other comments coming through. Thank you so much for your participation, and I truly appreciate you joining me. It gives me an opportunity to do this breathing technique with everybody on here doing it at the same time, and what a powerful effect we have when we do the focused intention at the same time. So happy courage to all of you, and I look forward to connecting with you next week, same time, same place, and for now, thank you so much for sharing your energy with us. Take care.